What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some crazy stuff here going on in our country right now. I didn't even know if I could go over this, but we will. We will because it's just too big and it's everywhere right now. So we'll jump right in here. Thank you so much for liking and sharing these videos. But as you can see here, former President Donald Trump calls for the termination of election rules in the Constitution to overturn the 2020 election. Uh, yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. You know, a lot of people always point back to the Constitution, and well, here's what he said, and here's an interview with a new Republican congressman. Let me know your thoughts on this.
I do want to ask you about something that the frontrunner for your party's presidential nomination, former President Donald Trump, wrote on his social media platform this weekend. He says, quote, "Do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution," unquote. So, Congressman-elect, what is your reaction to Donald Trump calling for the termination of the U.S. Constitution?
Well, obviously, I don't support that. The Constitution is set for a reason, to protect the rights of every American. And so I certainly don't endorse that language or that sentiment. I think the question for everyone is how we move forward. You know, I ran for Congress to address the challenges that we're facing and be forward-looking. Frankly, I think people are tired of looking backwards. I think people are tired of discussing the grievances of prior elections, and they want to know what we're going to do to address the challenges. And I think the former president would be well advised to focus on the future if he is going to run for president again.
Yeah, what are your thoughts here? A lot of Republicans speaking out against this. Top House Intel Republicans condemn Trump's calls to suspend the Constitution over the 2020 election, saying here, Republican Mike Turner from Ohio, the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, on Sunday condemned former President Donald Trump's suggestion to suspend the Constitution over the unfounded claims of mass electoral fraud in the 2020 presidential election. During an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation, he was asked if he condemned Trump's post on Saturday calling for termination of all rules. He responded with absolutely, and I believe answering your question that people certainly are going to take into consideration a statement like this as they evaluate a candidate. Guys, Ken, let me know your thoughts on this. He says, quote, I, first of all, vehemently disagree with the statement that Trump has made. Trump has made thousands of statements in which I disagree. Senators believe that the child tax credit can get a deal to extend it before the end of the year. Senator Bennett believes that he can get 60 votes to pass the extension through the Senate omnibus bill with the government funding bill. You can see here he believes he can get 60 votes to pass the extension through the Senate omnibus bill. Here's the details of this. As Congress nears the end of its lame duck session, one Democratic U.S. Senator Michael Bennett's top priorities is seeking support for expanding the child tax credit again to $3,000 to $3,600. An expanded child tax credit passed as part of the American Rescue Plan in 2021, with half of the payments going to families monthly from July through December, and the other half included when families filed their taxes earlier this year. The program expired after 1 year, but Bennett wants to see it extended permanently because of how much it improved the country's rate of child poverty. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the expanded tax credit cut child poverty nearly in half. And I don't think anybody can say cutting child poverty is a bad thing. With the rate falling from 9.7% in 2020 to a record low of 5.2%. With a permanent expansion is what Bennett ideally wants. Another temporary extension is also possible if he can get it through. Though these last few weeks of the 117th Congress, Bennett will be negotiating with colleagues on both sides of the aisle to see if he can get support for expanding the tax credit again. Saying, quote, "We should have extended it to begin with. We should never have let it lapse," he said in an interview. It achieved what we said it would achieve, which is cut childhood poverty in America almost in half and reduced hunger by a quarter. First enacted in 1997, so what is that, 25 years ago? 25 years ago, yep. The federal child tax credit offers filers relief of up to $2,000 per child. The temporary extension, modeled after legislation introduced by Bennett in 2017, raised the amount of the credit to $3,600 per child and made it fully refundable, allowing the poorest families to receive direct payments even if they did not owe federal income taxes. The expanded version of the tax credit expired after Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia sided with Republicans in voting against another 1 year extension because of how much money it would cost the government and how it benefited families of higher incomes who don't necessarily need the credit. Yeah, they voted against it because of how much money it would cost the government, but yet they voted to give $250 billion to corporations when it came to the CHIPS Act. So, I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. Bennett and a group of fellow Democratic legislators issued a statement in September saying they did not want to end the year extending corporate tax breaks without expanding the child tax credit. Supporters of the expanded CTC hope to use one such tax break under consideration in the Senate, known as Research and Development Amortization Fix, as leverage to extend the child tax credit. Again, this is the one of these corporate tax breaks that is coming up for renewal from the 2017 Trump tax cuts. In the end, we're going to need 60 votes to move a piece of legislation that includes both the child tax credit and things like research and development tax credit, something I support, but don't believe we should extend it without extending the child tax credit, Bennett said. He said he feels good about reaching the 60 votes to pass the extension if it can get in the omnibus bill, which is the government funding bill. One of a few potential vehicles to get the child tax credit through, but a new extension would likely look different from the one that was passed because of the need to attract bipartisan support. Because Republicans will be taking over the House of Representatives at the start of 2023, legislators pushing for the child tax credit expansion believe it was more likely to get passed before the switch is made. So let me know your thoughts here on this. Obviously, it's too late for monthly checks this year, but you could potentially still get the $3,000 to $3,600 when you file your taxes. Remember that even for last year, you still had to file taxes to get half of the money. The monthly checks were only for half the year. So even if you're not required to file taxes, you still want to file taxes for last year because you're still owed $1,500 to $1,800 per child. So if you didn't file taxes and you have children, you probably want to, because there's $1,500 to $1,800 that you can get per child if you got the monthly checks. If you didn't get the monthly checks, you can still get $3,000 to $3,600 per child for the full child tax credits for last year. So keep that in mind. Uh, Again, I'm just trying to help out as many people as possible. This isn't tax advice because I don't know your specific situation. Um, but if you didn't file taxes and you have children, you probably want to go talk to somebody like an H&R Block or somebody that does taxes because you're probably missing out on a lot of money from the government. And last year, that's refundable money, so that the government will literally send you a check to you. So, keep this in mind. So this is something that they're looking to deal on here, like in December, and I'll keep you up to date on this. As this is a massive, massive basic stimulus program here that could be done this month for, I think it's like 60 million children, 40 some million families. Obviously, some families have more than one child, but I'll keep you up to date. This is a big, big thing that they're working on right now, and they're going to try to do it before the new Congress comes in, which is in January. So let me know your thoughts. Also, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says, quote, the U.S. housing bubble formed during the pandemic, and now the housing market will go through the other side of that, saying that a massive reset in the housing bubble, the housing market, will come to pass and has already started. Yeah, speaking at the Brookings Institute event, Federal Reserve Chairman told the audience that the run-up in home prices during the pandemic housing boom qualifies as a housing bubble. Directly from Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. Quote, coming out of the pandemic, mortgage rates were very low. People wanted to buy houses. They wanted to get out of the cities and buy houses in the suburbs because of the pandemic. So you really had a housing bubble. You had housing prices going up, very unsustainable levels, and overheating and that kind of thing. So now the housing market will go through the other side of that and hopefully come out in a better place between supply and demand. Yeah. According to past statements by Powell, that process of bringing balance to the force or to the US housing markets has already begun. In June, Powell said spike mortgage rates would help to reset the US housing market, which some people call the Great Reset. Then in September, Powell told reporters that we had officially entered into a difficult housing correction. Some would say this is part of the recession that would restore balance to the force or to the market, right? That bubble acknowledgement by Powell comes on the heels of an article published in November by the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas with the title Skimming U.S. Housing Froth, a Delicate, Daunting Task. If this isn't cryptic, I don't know what. The article argued that policymakers should try to deflate the bubble rather than burst it. Yeah, good luck with this. In the current environment, when housing demand is showing signs of softening, monetary policy needs to be carefully thread the needle of bringing inflation down without setting off a downward house price spiral, a significant housing sell-off that could aggravate an economic downturn, as if we're not there already. A severe housing bust from the frothy pandemic run-up isn't inevitable. Although the situation is challenging, there remains a window of opportunity to deflate the housing bubble while achieving the Fed's preferred outcome of a soft landing. Yeah, really sounds like they're playing with fire and the economy, people's lives. It's a really, really tough situation. But on the other hand, I mean, the housing market was out of control. The car market was out of control. I mean, to see cars selling for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars over MSRP, over asking price, houses going for tens of thousands of dollars over asking price, selling the day of on the market with multiple bidders. I mean, it was just an unnatural market. And we also got to hope that that doesn't happen again. It was just absolutely crazy. The other thing here is how long will it take for interest rates to come back down, and how long will interest rates stay high? Yeah, yeah. And now we're seeing credit card interest rates at all-time highs, the highest they've ever been ever. How long will this continue to go on? It's really it's a devastating effect that is hurting pretty much almost everybody. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here on all of this going on here in our country on a daily basis. So if you're new to our channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After you subscribe, click the bell icon that appears after you subscribe. And this way you won't miss out on any new videos. And also thanks for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next, and you can click here to see my newest video on Social Security big update. If you haven't seen that, click on one of those videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.